In today's news, Premier Fahie rolls out protocols for the reopening of the tourism industry.
Police searches for scooter rider for discharging firearm in the evening hours. Republic banks commit to fraud prevention, and 26 persons on Jost van Dyke receive tourism training. All this and more when To It for News returns.
How does financial services benefit the BVI? It's been around for more than 3 decades before the World Wide Web and is now part of the everyday life of our islands. More than 2,200 people are directly employed in financial services, and another 3,000 jobs are supported indirectly. Jobs are corporate service providers, lawyers, insolvency, accounting, banking, insurance, regulators. That's almost 27% of the national workforce. Of those, more than 65% are BVI landers and belongers. What about restaurants, supermarkets, or shops? Well, 100% of people eat. So, they buy food. They buy swimsuits and shampoo and cars and power tools and plantains and fish and roti and pates. Financial services employees buy painkillers and lots of beer. Then there's electricity and dental floss and toilet paper and pretty much everything else. And everyone needs a roof over their heads and a place to do business, so we all rent or buy from a local landlord. Housing and office space alone means millions of dollars into the pockets of BVI families. At the end of the day, everyone benefits, including charities who receive thousands of dollars every year. And more than 60% of all government revenues come from fees paid by financial services. This money is spent on schools, roads, ports, scholarships, the environment, health, sports, children, youths, and the elderly. Financial services contributes more than $290 million to the BVI economy. That's more than 30% of all economic activity is driven by financial services. This creates thousands of jobs all across the islands, meaning more people have a way to earn a living. What does financial services do for the BVI? Let's just say it keeps our lights on. Financial services is everybody's business. So, come on, mind your business and let's not keep this to ourselves.
Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. A terrific Tuesday to each and every one of you. We are coming to you live and direct from our home, our paradise in Tortola, British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Kyla Kinisha Forbes. Definitely happy to be joining you today, viewers. We have so much to get into, of course, coming out of a press conference last evening with our Premier, Ron.
Yes,
so we have so much. But of course, we have your news summary for you. So we'll jump right into it.
So just touching on some headlines, tourism businesses must be course certified before reopening. Additionally, visitors won't be able to roam freely immediately after quarantine as persons may have thought. And an online portal, visitors must apply for BVI Gateway Certificate to enter. We're going to be covering all this and so much more.
Ron, so much coming out of the press conferences, all of these headlines, and we will be covering them in a story as we basically break down what the Premier covered yesterday, which is very important for our residents, but also our eager visitors that is ready to visit us come December 1st. Yes. But also a little more in our news summary. Today, in a statement from the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, it said, and I quote, "Members of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force are now trying to locate a local scooter rider who discharged several gunshots last evening." The official report said, and I quote, "Police are seeking the identity of a male scooter rider about 5'5" or shorter who has seen aimlessly discharging several rounds from a firearm while riding through the Carrot Bay community between 5:30 and 6 p.m. last evening. While no injuries have been reported, the force is imploring persons with some information to call the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the intelligence hotline, and that number is 368-9339.
Kyla, in a separate incident, to our knowledge, these incidents are not related or have not confirmed to be related, but earlier this afternoon in Boggers Bay, there was a shooting where one male received injuries to his leg. He has since been receiving treatment at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital, and police of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force are again employing persons within the area who may be aware of any information that may be potent to please contact the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force at the very same number. That's 368-9339.
Ron, once again, we see where the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is basically asking our community, if you have seen something, please say something. But viewers, as we promised, we're going to jump right into those protocols. Now, after many months of the borders being closed to visitors and the territory's tourism sector experienced a tremendous blow. Now, our Premier of the Virgin Islands, of course, Honorable Andrew A. Fahie, in a live press conference last evening, he rolled out the protocols for the first phase of the border reopening for tourism. Now, thousands of persons including eager visitors, residents, and tourism industry professionals listened in high anticipation as the Premier outlined the terms and conditions of the first phase of the territory opening to visitors. Now, Premier Fahie revealed that in the first instance, entry into the BVI will be exclusive to air travel via the territory's international airport. He said, and I quote, "In the first instance, commencing the 1st of December 2020, entry into the BVI will be exclusive to air travel via the Terence B. Lettsome International Airport." End quote. Premier Fahie explained that passengers will have to agree to terms and conditions that will include, but is not, of course, limited to, periods of quarantine at approved accommodations, the PCR testing, medical travel insurance that includes COVID-19 coverage, subscription to a contact tracing system through their mobile phone, and in some cases using a wearable device and bearing the costs associated with these measures. Ron, that is the important part, and that is what people have been asking about, the cost of what this might really look like for visitors to visit our shores once again. But viewers, now these protocols are as followed. Now, all arriving passengers would be required to have obtained prior approval to enter the territory. Passengers will have to agree to all the relevant terms and conditions before boarding their flight. Then travelers will be required to register and upload the relevant documentation via the online portal, which is named BVI Gateway. The application must be completed at least 48 hours prior to the intended flight. Once approved for travel, travelers will be granted a traveler's authorization certificate. The portal can be accessed via bvigateway.bviaa.com. I'll repeat that. That is bvigateway.bviaa.com, and will be live come November 2nd, 2020. Now, approved travelers must present their BVI Gateway Travelers Authorization Certificate along with a negative PCR test result at the check-in counter prior to boarding their flight to come to the territory. The negative PCR test results will be obtained and should be obtained at least 5 days prior to travel. Any travelers without proof of this PCR test will be denied approval to travel to the BVI. Now, upon arrival to the BVI, travelers will be mandated to take another PCR test. Passengers will be instructed to download a contact tracing software to their mobile phones, and at all times, travelers would be required to have their mobile devices on them with the tracing software being active. Now, for 4 days upon arrival, travelers would be required to remain within the compounds of their approved improved accommodations, and they will have to avoid or minimize the contact with others outside of their group and to keep their movement to a minimum. On the fourth day, the traveler would be required to take yet another PCR test. Once that results come back negative, they would be allowed to isolate their movement to a designated place or places. These would be locations that are not of high traffic or high risk. These locations are being currently coordinated by the Environmental Health Division and other government agencies, and the establishments will be notified in short order. A fourth and final PCR test would be administered on day 8, and once this test also returns negative, the traveler would be able to move within the territory without any limitations. Now, Ron, this is an extensive list of protocols. Of course,
it's a lot of testing.
Yeah, it's a lot of testing. 4 days, 4 tests, and then I think it's quite a lot. A very extensive list, but we see where the Premier is stopping at nothing to make sure that the BVI is safe. But what this might come with is that what we have seen on the live, especially last evening on that press conference, yes, many persons expressed their sentiments of not being able to probably travel to the BVI anytime soon, or even canceling their trips. Of course, that makes us very sad.
Of course.
But I think this came to somewhat of a surprise to many persons, I guess, the extensiveness of the protocols.
Well, Kyla, these highly anticipated and long-awaited protocols are finally here, and whether persons agree with it or not, this is what the government of the Virgin Islands has mandated in meetings gone by. The Honorable Minister for Health as well as the Premier have insisted that the 4 days is the best that the government could do based on their advisement by health officials. However, we see where it definitely could be the single situation that makes or breaks perhaps the rest of the year in persons traveling back. One of the things that I find very interesting is not only the extensive amount of testing that will be done. However, we see again where there is a thin line between health and lives and economy, and I think at the end of the day, if the government of the Virgin Islands were to analyze their ability to essentially cater to another outbreak, perhaps this is where they're coming from. But again, based on what we've seen, our residents are not very pleased, but regardless, these are what have been presented.
Ron, this is a great point. That underlying factor, at the end of the day, we've been speaking about it for months, and we're seeing where countries and territories have to juggle that economy versus health element. And yes, we want our borders to be open, but I guess our officials and our leaders are looking at that underlying factor of, can our healthcare system handle what is to come? So at the end of the day, as you said, this is what we have to work with. And of course, we're encouraging all visitors to come to the BVI because we surely do miss you.
Most definitely. Now, viewers, continuing on the local scene, Republic Bank has confirmed that some of its customers have been impacted by recent fraudulent activity on its debit cards. Through its robust monitoring systems, the bank was able to quickly identify cases where customers' cards were compromised and effectively minimized the risk to other customers. The bank's managing director, Ms. Marian Blyden, said, and I quote, "Republic Bank exercises a zero-tolerance policy on fraud, and we take the financial security of our customers very seriously. Whenever a customer has been impacted by fraud, the bank executes a well-defined standard process focused on having the issue resolved as soon as possible." Now, Ms. Blyden continued by saying Republic Bank is prepared to go to the full extent of the law in its treatment with incidents of fraud and their perpetrators. Now, so she said, the bank will continue to take all necessary measures to ensure that fraud is prevented and that, should it occur, those responsible are brought to justice. Republic Bank customers are asked to immediately report any suspicious or unauthorized transactions to republicbank.bvi@rfhl.com, or please call the number at 3130 or 494-2526. Additionally, customers are strongly encouraged to sign up for the Republic Bank alerts to be notified on transactions on their accounts. Kyla, we see where this continues to be a prevalent issue, amongst our local banks, and we see where this particular bank, Republic Bank, along with its managing director, is issuing a statement essentially reassuring the general public of their commitment to protect its customers.
Most definitely. Of course, being a customer of any bank, that is very important to any individual. So that reassuring word is definitely needed and a bit comforting, I'm sure, to their customers. Most
definitely. Viewers, still ahead, 26 persons on Jost Van Dyke receive tourism training, and we have so much more details, all this and more. You're watching 284 News.
How does financial services benefit the BVI? It's been around for more than 3 decades before the World Wide Web and is now part of the everyday life of our islands. More than 2,200 people are directly employed in financial services, and another 3,000 jobs are supported indirectly. Jobs are corporate service providers, lawyers, insolvency, accounting, banking, insurance, regulators. That's almost 27% of the national workforce. Of those, more than 65% are BVI landers and belongers. What about restaurants, supermarkets, or shops? Well, 100% of people eat. So, they buy food. They buy swimsuits and shampoo and cars and power tools and plantains and fish and roti and pates. Financial services employees buy painkillers and lots of beer. Then there's electricity and dental floss and toilet paper and pretty much everything else. And everyone needs a roof over their heads and a place to do business, so we all rent or buy from a local landlord. Housing and office space alone means millions of dollars into the pockets of BVI families. At the end of the day, everyone benefits, including charities who receive thousands of dollars every year. And more than 60% of all government revenues come from fees paid by financial services. This money is spent on schools, roads, ports, scholarships, the environment, health, sports, children, youths, and the elderly. Financial services contributes more than $290 million to the BVI economy. That's more than 30% of all economic activity is driven by financial services. This creates thousands of jobs all across the islands, meaning more people have a way to earn a living. What does financial services do for the BVI? Let's just say it keeps our lights on. Financial services is everybody's business. So, come on, mind your business and let's not keep this to ourselves.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Continuing on the local scene here in the British Virgin Islands, 26 residents of Jost Van Dyke have received in-person training in restaurant services under the H. Lavely Stout Community College's Tourism Certification Program. This follows Junior Minister of Tourism Honorable Shari B. DeCastro's announcement that hospitality training was coming to the island. Now, Honorable DeCastro told residents at a recent community meeting that the training will be conducted on the sister island as the government of the Virgin Islands was making it easier for all industry personnel throughout the territory to take full advantage of the HLSCC's Tourism Certification Training Program. The junior minister said, and I quote, "The training is on time for December 1st reopening of the tourism sector, and it is the government's intention to have persons working in the sector to be qualified with the intentionally recognized certification or internationally recognized certification program. We will continue," she said, "to work together to ensure the safety of our guests and territory as we advance our reopening strategy." Honorable DeCastro also gave the assurance that the training program will be conducted on the sister islands of Anegada and Virgin Gorda. Other certifications currently being offered on the island of Jost Van Dyke include a guest room attendant from October 27th to the 29th, front desk from November 3rd to the 5th, and kitchen cook from November 10th to the 12th. Now, the Tourism Certification Training Program was recently launched on October 9th by the H. Lavely Stout Community College in collaboration with the BVI Tourist Board and the government of the Virgin Islands. The program is offered through the territory's accredited community college and is developed under the internationally recognized certification START the Skills, Task, and Results Training under the American Hotel and Lodging Educational Institute. Now, the course covers 12 of the major line-level positions in the hospitality industry, and it teaches the skills and tasks necessary to do each task. Now, in addition, the trainees also learn about the lodging industry, guest services profession, and safety. Kyla, as we were just talking about hospitality and our borders being reopened, we see where the program that we spoke of, which was launched on October 9th, has made its way to the sister island. I think I know the residents of Jost and Dyke, in speaking to them at the recent committee meeting, were very excited based on the fact that they did not have to come to the main island of Tortola, but the training was going to them. Really essentially accommodating them and making sure that they receive the training necessary. Will it be a busy season coming up for Christmas once the borders open? That's wait to be seen, but nevertheless, we can expect that our hospitality industry professionals will be trained.
Ron, I always love when we include our sister islands, but also too, we have to remember that they are essentially some of our main hubs right here in the BVI, Jost Van Dyke, a tourist destination within itself, Virgin Gorda. So we must not forget them at all. And as you said, do we know if this season will be busy? We're not sure, but I think this kind of training is something that we always needed in our territory and will continue to need as we move forward. And I think we will catch ourselves at some point. So it's something that would definitely not go to waste as we move on.
One of the beautiful things I love about this, in an interview with the Director of Culinary Arts, Mrs. Keisha Davis-Barnes, she noted that this program is not a one-time situation, it's an ongoing training, so persons don't necessarily have to put a time frame on it, and I think that's a beautiful thing. The training does not need to be rushed, but it needs to be extensive and intense, and I think that persons could really look forward to making sure that they can sharpen their skills in a multitude of disciplines to make sure that just like we speak and we push BVI love, that at the end of the day when they do come, they receive BVI love and top-notch service.
I do agree with that. Now, viewers, still ahead. Now, serious assaults lead the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force weekly reports, and we have so much more for you as the LIAT set flights on November 1st. Now, you don't want to miss this. This is 284 News, and we'll be right back.
The wind! Oh!
What are the hell?
I'm freaking out!
Is time.
284 News.
Coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
What's poppin', what's really good, what's happening, what's up?
Davis has won it for the
Viewers, welcome back. You've been watching 284 News. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force here in the British Virgin Islands is recording a disturbing rise in the number of serious assaults within the past week, 2 of which were perpetrators against security officers by persons trying to enter premises without face masks. Now, the security establishments, 2 of them, a nightclub in Longbush and the other at a supermarket in East End, received medical treatment for injuries sustained by persons who were stopped from entering for not wearing a face mask. Similarly, persons in separate incidents were taken to the hospital for injuries sustained in fights between present or former friends, co-workers, and neighbors. Deputy Commissioner Alwyn James says he is disturbed with what appears to be a lack of restraint and self-control by some members of the community. He said, and I quote, "We're not only witnessing an inability by some to resist the temptation to inflict injury on those carrying out their duties, but we are also seeing premeditated and orchestrated assaults on colleagues, friends, and neighbors in our civilized community. Arresting those responsible is one thing, but some of those injuries are serious and could be permanent. It is important as a community that we accept no excuses for these acts of violence, but voice our united disapproval. It is uncivilized and must be condemned by all of us. Charges are still being preferred in these matters and investigations are ongoing." Carla, this is not the first time that we've seen persons being violent towards security guards and business owners for implementing the security safety protocols that have been implemented by the government of the Virgin Islands for the utmost safety of all of us. And I think it is disheartening that in our community, a very small community, and the Deputy Police Commissioner mentioned the word civilized community, but this is in no way civilized behavior.
No.
I'm not understanding where we're not getting to the point of understanding this is for our betterment. At the end of the day, now we're seeing where persons are putting others in danger.
Most definitely, of course. Ron, as you said, just disheartening. I cannot agree more with the Deputy Commissioner at the end of the day. As you said, it's just for our betterment. And as grown adults, to just not understand that, of course, any of us, we definitely do not love this new normal, but it's something to get accustomed to.
Exactly.
And to put your hands on someone because they are just enforcing the rules, that is just downright disgusting. But of course, just wishing the best to those persons, those security guards. Yes, speedy recovery. Now, viewers, before we close out, now LIAT will begin to fly on November 1st. Now, Antigua and Barbuda, their government says the cash-strapped regional airline LIAT, which had been grounded since March this year as a result of the measures taken by regional countries to close their borders to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, of course, along with the airline's own financial problems, will return to the skies on November 1st. A statement issued after the weekly cabinet meeting noted that the administrator, which is Cleveland Seafort, who had been appointed by the High Court in the LIAT bankruptcy matter, was invited to address ministers on the plans to get the airline, which is now being recapitalized, back into the skies. The administrator confirmed the intent to fly its first commercial flight on November 1st, 2020, and that it begins regular schedules to a limited number of destinations, possibly 1 week later. The LIAT administrator informed that a permit has been granted to LIAT to fly to the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, right across the waters from us, Ron. So that is good news.
Yes.
That's what the statement said. Now, earlier this month, Antigua and Barbuda, their Prime Minister Gaston Brown, said his administration was prepared to collapse the regional airline if it does not emerge as a new and lead entity as part of the reorganizational plans. Now, Mr. Brown said then that practically all of the countries in the region were collaborating, and that the governments of Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Dominica had written to the administrator agreeing to write off their debts. Now, he said, and I quote, "If I am not mistaken, we are talking close to 70 million EC dollars in debt would be eliminated from the balance books of LIAT as a result of those countries agreeing to write off the amount due to them." He added, "I want to make that abundantly clear. As you know, we had borrowed that is 15 million US dollars to invest in LIAT, and we have commenced utilizing some of those funds. We will make the funds available to assist the administrator in his objective to try and get LIAT back in the air." This is what Brown said, insisting clearly it will be a downsized LIAT, of course. The Antigua-based airline owes creditors in an excess of 100 million EC dollars, and since the airline stopped its daily schedules, several smaller airlines have sought to occupy the space left by the regional airline. Now, on October 16th, the airline observed its 64th anniversary of serving the Caribbean, saying the last few months have been a bit daunting. The airline said, as it reflects on serving the Caribbean for the last 64 years, we thank you, our customers, for being there with us through the good and the rough times. We are working behind the scenes to return to the Caribbean skies to bring back the familiar Caribbean feeling that says love is always there. Prior to its collapse, LIAT flew to 21 destinations, operating an average of 112 daily flights within a complex network combining profitable and uneconomic routes. Now, airline observers said that these 39 unprofitable flights were in 18 territories. Now, Ron, we're just glad to see that LIAT have done some restructuring and they will be able to return to the skies. LIAT definitely have connected the Caribbean in a way.
For 64 years.
For 64 years. Of course, we know some of the complaints that customers have. So hopefully this downsizing and this, as Gaston Brown said, a leaner LIAT could probably be something different and better for the Caribbean, but we're definitely happy to have them back.
Most definitely. Kyla, LIAT is of such importance to the region of the territory and keeping us all connected. We wish them the utmost of success in the revamping of the airline, and we hope to see them back on stream and coming to the BVI, of course.
Most definitely. Viewers, that is it for our news roundup. Be sure to catch our news updates at 284media.com. We are out of time, and I am Kyla Kenisha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant. We will see you tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Bye-bye.